All right. I read that you're from Houston, Texas, and I know you played a lot of instruments and keyboards and everything. So how did you get started with music and playing keyboards and writing songs?
Basically, it was a very, very unorthodox way of getting into music. I was never very musically inclined my entire life. I never really focused on music or had a drive or uh, a passion for music. I was in church choir for a little bit when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and then my mom put me in piano lessons for about like a week, and I quit after that. And then fast forward to when I was in Houston. I moved to Houston when I was 13 years old, 2012, from Queens, New York originally. And I was in middle school band. I played the flute in seventh grade.
Right.
And then after that, I got homeschooled. So I didn't really have any musicality after that. It was mostly just video games and doing schoolwork. But then I wanted to be a streamer. I wanted to be a YouTuber and a content creator. So I was playing a lot of video games and I was making a lot of montages and putting them up on the internet on
Uh-huh.
different places, different platforms. And I was using other artists' music in my little videos, but they would get copyright strikes, so I couldn't make any
Uh-huh.
money off of it.
Uh-huh.
And after I noticed I couldn't make money, I told my mom, and I was like, I can't make any money. What do I do? And she was like, make your own music for the videos.
Right.
I was like, okay. So I looked up the next day how to make music on iPhone, and this app called BandLab comes up. And I'm like, okay, let's start here. So I started like, learning how to engineer and program my voice and how to make beats and kind of produce and
Right.
how to sing too. And I started making songs that very next day. And then I released my first song a month later and put that in a video in one of my Fortnite videos. And it just took off. It took off. My friends were using it in their videos, and everybody on the internet was like, yo, this is royalty free music. We can use it and make money off of it. Let's
Uh-huh.
use all of David's songs. So, yeah, basically, it all came from a video game.
Now, was that first song Romantic Homicide?
No, the first song was it's called Runaway,
Okay.
and then yeah, Runaway.
Now I know I saw a cool documentary video, Spotify video of you and you being in Houston with your family, and I saw you like gaming, and then I saw you doing flips. Like, are you into gymnastics and stuff like that?
Yeah, I did gymnastics for about 5 years. I did parkour for 4 years.
All right, and so okay, and who are some of your favorite music artists? Who inspired you?
Ooh, Billie Eilish, Nirvana, The Smiths, um, Michael Jackson, of course, um, Deftones, the band Deftones. Um, yeah, those are a couple of mine.
All right, now uh, when did you put out Romantic Homicide? And is it true that you wrote and recorded the song on your iPhone?
Yeah, I recorded Romantic Homicide straight off my phone. And it took me 30 minutes to write too. It was very, very, I was like in a flow state when I wrote that song. It was just like I wanted to kind of convey the emotion of sadness and grieving. And I was like, I just like tapped into this emotion that I hadn't done before. And it came super easy to me. I released that song around July, August 2022.
Uh huh.
I posted it on TikTok like a night before I wanted to put it out. And it blew up instantly. It was crazy.
I'm just curious, how do you get such a good quality music recording just on your iPhone?
I use just earbuds, just the normal
Uh
wired
huh.
headphones,
Right.
and then I use a lot of I have a lot of presets and I know how to mess with EQ and
Right.
compressors and stuff like that to make it sound good on the phone.
Cool.
It
Cool.
sounds pretty professional, yeah.
um, then after that, you had a follow up hit with your ballad "Here with Me." Can you talk about writing that song?
That song is even more special because I wrote that song kind of after watching the Disney movie Up. When I make music and I draw inspiration from different things, I kind of get inspired by movies, television, just life things in general. But for that song in particular, it was the Disney movie. So I was just looking at Carl and Ellie's relationship, and when Ellie dies and Carl travels to Paradise Falls, I was like, I need to encapsulate this movie into a song.
Uh
And
huh.
I instantly just got into the closet and I was working on that song and just thinking about that entire movie in the process. So.
All right. Now, David, what is your general songwriting process? Do you usually start with the track or beat, or do you come up with the poetry and lyrics and the melody first? Or how do you like to write songs?
It's definitely with the track and the beat first because I'm one of those artists that like to let the instrumentals speak to me. Like I like to let the pianos talk. I like
Right,
to let
right.
the guitars talk before I say anything because the instruments have so much more to say than we do sometimes. And when the production is lacking, then the lyrics are lacking. So I like to make sure I get everything in order
Uh-huh.
with the actual structure of the song and how it sounds
Right.
before I sing on it. And then afterwards, I kind of get the melodies out and freestyle and
Uh-huh.
let everything kind of conjure up um, lyrically.
Cool, cool. Now you've signed with Dark Room and Interscope Records, so how'd you connect with them and decide to sign with them?
It was a crazy hectic process actually when I released Romantic Homicide and Here With Me. I was getting emails from a bunch of different labels and I was like talking to my parents about it at the time. I was like 17, 16,
Right.
and they all thought it was all scams. They were like, yo, you can't do that. This is a scam. Don't go to LA. Da, 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 da. Da. I was like, wait, but let's take some Zoom meetings. So we hopped on a Zoom call and then met the team, fell in love with the team, and then and the rest is history.
All right. Now, before your album, which we're going to talk about in a minute, you released two EPs, Petals to Thorns and The Lost Petals. So can you talk about those two EPs?
Yeah, those two EPs are kind of like the staples of my beginning in my career, basically kind of showcasing what kind of music I make, what kind of artistic vision I have, what the visuals are looking like, what the aesthetic is, what the sonic identity is, and kind of just like introducing myself to the world in a way.
Right.
So those two projects are kind of like the two foundations of what this album is going to be, and it kind of gives you like an insight to the bedroom pop side. I got some post punk songs, I got some rock songs, I got some pop songs. So it's just like those two introductory projects that I have right now to my sound.
Cool, cool. Now, in April, you're going to be releasing your first full album, Withering. And so can you talk about the making of this album?
The making of this album was kind of crazy too. I mean, I used to do a lot of different projects with different producers, and I went through maybe five or six different versions of this album. But the most recent version, the one that I'm very happy with, the one that we're gonna put out, I made in a total of 4 weeks. So I went to London for 2 weeks with three of my friends, and we just made a song every day for 2 weeks in London. I love London because of like the gloomy aesthetic and the gloomy just like vibe and
Right.
environment that London has. Like there's barely any sun there, and I love that because the music I make is really sad. And then so 2 weeks I made a song every day, came out with half the album, and then I went back to Houston for another 2 weeks, and I made the rest of the project on my phone just off of beats that people sent me and with some things that I make. And yeah, I just spent 2 weeks in a different area trying to get
Right.
myself in a different mindset, and then I came back to Houston, put myself in the same mindset again, and made everything by myself. So I wanted to see what I looked like or how I worked with different people and how I worked with myself.
Cool. Now, you've already released two singles or two songs from your upcoming album, One More Dance and Where to Go Wrong. So can you talk about those songs?
Yeah, Where to Go Wrong is kind of like that perfect kind of segue into the new era. It's kind of like my fans know that sound for me the most, and that's the sound that I kind of emerged with on BandLab. It's like that classic David indie rock kind of bedroom pop sound, and I wanted to like bring that back after being away from it for so long. I did a couple of songs last year for different TV shows and things like that that have a different kind of sonic
Uh huh.
or sound, and I wanted to kind of bring that old sound, that old fresh David sound back with Where Did It Go Wrong, and then with One More Dance, it's kind of like that perfect transition into something much more evolved and much more mature and a sound that has I haven't explored yet really, which is kind of like that super structured out, um, very intentional song, which is what the contrast of those two songs are.
Cool. I've been listening to your new album, and I like the songs. Well, I like a bunch of the songs, but two that I really like are Atomic Land and Somewhere in the Middle. So, can you talk a little about writing those two songs?
Yeah, Atomic Lab is one of the ones we've made in London. I love that song so much. It was kind of like the craziest kind of process to make that song. We have it all documented on video too. We're just literally messing around with a bunch of different instruments in the studio. Then my friend Scott was playing this melody on an organ, and
Uh
I
huh.
kind of just started riffing over the organ.
Uh huh.
And I wanted it to feel like it was a song from a theme park. Like the melodies you hear is very like carnival, like
Uh huh.
Ferris wheels, carousels, all that kind of stuff. So kind of wanted that song to feel like it was in a theme park in a way. And then somewhere in the middle was a song that I made for my love of the Cranberries. There's this band called the Cranberries
Yeah,
that has
yeah,
a very
yeah.
big sound, and I love them and take inspiration from them so much. I wanted to kind of like bring that into my world too. And somewhere in the middle is encapsulating that and embodying the spirit of the Cranberries.
Cool. Now, besides we talked about four of your songs on your new album. What are your other favorite songs on your upcoming album?
Ooh, my other favorite songs would probably be "Friend Again." I love "Friend Again" so much because of like the kind of garage band chorus it has, mixed with kind of the slower, somber R&B like
Uh huh.
um, verses. And what else do I love Afterlife. Afterlife was one of my favorite songs of all time. That song is like one of my best writing pieces ever. So poetic. I love the melodies I have on there and just like the overarching orchestral themes too. It's just like a
Right.
perfect dramatic song.
All right. David, want to ask you about your live show and touring. Can you talk about your live shows and your band? And I also read that you've toured with SZA already. So, what's your live show like?
My live show is kind of a mixture of a rock show, a pop show, a little bit of like some somber indie rock. It's kind of like it makes you realize how many ranges in music and how eclectic and how much music I really have. It kind of gives a moment for each side of my kind of artist history to shine. Especially when I was on the Scissors tour, you see a lot of people listening to like my lesser known songs, and then when I
Right.
get to the big songs, you're like, oh my god, that's the guy that sang that. That's the guy
Yeah.
that sang that. So it's kind of like my live show is a mixture of a vibe that anybody can kind of rock with and resonate with at the same time. And yeah, touring with SZA was amazing. I'm so honored and blessed to have her. She co-signed me very early on and was a fan of her music for a minute. So it was super awesome to kind of just to get on the road with her too.
Right.